Hi guys, welcome back to Nebula Fox Toy Reviews. So, with the main con season done for 2023, I thought I would do this video doing like a little bit of a sort of like a sum up of all the cons I went to. So I'll be talking about the con itself, like my overall thoughts. I'll say which cosplay I did, who I went with, and my favorite memory of the event. So I also just want to say a huge thank you to Ash, Morgan and Thomas for making this con season one of the best, if not the best, con season I've ever done. The cons that I did this year was honestly the most amount of cons I've ever done in 1 year. Mostly I would have done 1 or 2, maybe 3, but this time I did like 7, and it's the first time I've ever done 7 conventions in 1 year. So yeah, I am gonna unfortunately have to take one of my hand paws off this time, because I have all my notes here. I need to be able to operate the iPad. So, first up was Leeds Super Comic Con in February. It was, over in Leeds. It was at the Royal Armouries, I believe, was it? Yeah, it was at the Royal Armouries Museum in Leeds. So, for this con, I went in my Psycho-Pass cosplay. This con I actually didn't vlog. I wasn't vlogging conventions back then. My first vlog was actually HorrorCon. But anyway, back to Leeds. So yeah, Leeds Super Comic Con. I went with the whole squad. Ash, Morgan and Thomas. It was the full squad this time. And my favourite memory was getting up on stage for the first time for the cosplay competition. Whenever I'd attended conventions in the past, I enjoyed watching the cosplay competitions that they did, but I never actually took part in it. This was the first time I actually sort of took part in one, and it was really fun. I honestly really enjoyed it. Let me just bring this around. I really enjoyed it. I had fun, and so started a different stage in my cosplaying adventure. Overall, the con was kind of average. It was a more generic Comic-Con, so it didn't have any specific themes. It was one that catered to everyone, so Marvel, Star Wars, anime, gaming. Not so much the gaming, but I think there was a little bit of gaming there. So yeah, so basically just a bit of everything. It was very overcrowded. I do think they'd sold too many tickets. So very overcrowded, very noisy. And also, for the time of year, so this is February. In the UK, that is still winter. So it was actually very hot for the time of year. And that was purely because of all the people that they'd managed to cram into the building. Not long after the convention had finished, we started to learn the truth about Unleashed events. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video, but the organizer, Lee Hall / Lee Narroway, is a dodgy piece of shit. If you want to look it up, let's just go into Google and type in Unleashed events, Lee Hall. There's a ton of articles that'll pop up telling you what this man has done in the past. So moving on to the next con. that was Leeds Super Comic Con. For Unleashed events, our squad, we are united in saying we are no longer attending any of their paid events. But after Leeds, we went to HorrorCon. I went to HorrorCon, and that was in May in Sheffield. It was at the Magna Science Museum Centre. thing. It was at Magna, and my god, it was a good con. The cosplay I did for HorrorCon was Corvus, so my the bird, my raven character. His full look is a griffin made of a raven for his bird half and a white wolf for his mammal part. But because I was wearing him with a lab coat, you wouldn't have been able to see the tail, so I decided to just take the raven, like the bird half of him. This was another con that the full squad went with to, so it was me, Ash, Morgan and Thomas, so full squad. And my favourite memory for this con was pretty much just the entire thing. There isn't really one part that stood out to me as, wow, I want to remember that. It was just like the overall con, the overall experience was just amazing, and yeah, it was amazing. This was also the first con I had been to that had a specific theme. Pretty much all of the conventions that I have attended up to this point were like generic Comic-Cons that cater to everyone. Whereas this one, HorrorCon, it had a theme. It catered specifically to horror fans. And I love it. It was such a good con for my first time going to an actual themed convention. This one did get a little overcrowded. As conventions do, if you go to a convention, you know you're going to have to deal with the crowds. But I didn't think it was as bad as Leeds. Yes, it got crowded. Yes, it got to the point where you couldn't really move. But it also very quickly dissipated. It very quickly evened itself out as people that had been there since the beginning of the day were filing out to go home. So it's like all the early bird people were starting to go. Even though it got crowded rather quickly, it also emptied rather quickly. This was the con where we also realised that one of our now ex-friends was rather toxic. So we managed to fully cut ties with him. We put bewares out on him. And loads of people came forward about him. So that was actually a really good turning point in the year for all three of us. It was getting to the point where he was making all of us uncomfortable. I think I'd at least hung out with him the most, like outside of conventions and events and stuff. So yeah, he was a nasty person. Then yeah, he's gone now. Thank God for that. So after HorrorCon, there was Huddersfield Get Your Geek On. This was in June, and in Huddersfield, if the name of the con didn't give it away. This was a free event in Huddersfield Town Centre. So this didn't really have a venue. It was just scattered around the town centre. And because of that, I think it worked. For the cosplay that I did for that con was Neb. So I just took this. We were also in the midst of all the memes coming out for the Titanic sub that imploded. So I wore my yellow submarine t-shirt along with it to getting on the memes. For this one I went with Morgan and Thomas. I believe Ash was on holiday? Yeah, Ash was on holiday for this con, so they were unable to attend, so it was just me, Morgan and Thomas. And my favourite memory of that con was Morgan winning the cosplay competition. It wasn't even a memory to do with me. It was Morgan winning the cosplay competition. I was so proud of him that day. He deserved it. Overall, this was another Unleashed Events con. Well, it was mainly the Huddersfield bid that organised it, but Unleashed Events had sort of partnered with them to get more of the con stuff in the town centre. And it was worth it. I know I talked shit about Unleashed when talking about Leeds, but this one, Huddersfield Get Your Geek On, was a free event, so we figured it'd be safe to go to this one because we weren't actually giving them any money. The bid had obviously already paid them to do all this stuff, so we, the attendees, were not giving Unleashed any money. It was like 95% outdoor con. Some of the stalls were outside, all of like the cars and stuff were outside, most of the attractions were outside. The only bit that was inside was like the dealer's hall, and that was set up in like one of the empty shop units, and only one. It all managed to squeeze into one of the units, so it wasn't that big of a dealer's hall, but it was cool. I loved seeing the reactions of like the normies. So like the people who had never been to a convention before or had never seen cosplayers before, apart from maybe on videos and stuff. That was really fun. Me and Morgan, we could barely take 2 steps between people stopping us for photos. So that was good. It was also a little stressful when they were doing it out in the sun. When we were in the shade, we were all like, yes, please, you can stop us for photos all you want. But when it was out in the sun, I was in Neb, Morgan was CL from Black Butler, which is all black. The sun was out, it was hot. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next year's Get Your Geek On. And it's only down the road from me, so I'll be attending next year's. So after Get Your Geek On, it was the generic Huddersfield Comic Con. So this one was in July. Once again in Huddersfield. It was at the John Smith Stadium, right at the very bottom of town. The cosplay I did for that was William Afton from Five Nights at Freddy's. I went with Ash, and only Ash, because this time it was Morgan and Thomas's turn to go on holiday. So this was purely just a me and Ash thing. And my favourite memory from that con was meeting Phil Fletcher, Hacker, and James McKenzie. I had already met James McKenzie once before at a different convention, but it was good to see him again. Phil Fletcher and Hacker and Hacker the dog was the main one. That was the main guy I wanted to see. But obviously, Phil Fletcher's his puppeteer, so you're gonna have both of them together. This con, Huddersfield Comic Con, is a small local convention, but I feel like this year's was a lot bigger and better than last year's. Last year's was okay. This one was good. Not great, I will admit. Not great. It's a generic con, but it was a lot better than last year's. And hopefully, going off the fact that each one's been getting gradually better, I'm hoping next year's is really good as well. I did have to avoid a couple, so 2 undesirables at this convention. One of which was a success. Yeah, I saw him, I hid, I never interacted with him. The other one, unfortunately, found me and talked to me at least once. After that, I didn't really see them again, so yay. So that kind of worked. After Huddersfield Comic Con, was the shit show that is GS Con. This was in August in Manchester, and wow. The cosplay I did for this was William Afton again. This con reunited the full squad, so me, Ash, Morgan and Thomas, we all went to this con. And my favourite memory of it, the photo shoot, like the big photo shoot outside. Also just honourable mention for the memory was Morgan's panel. Morgan did a great job of his panel. That was his first panel that he'd ever done, and I was proud of him for getting up on stage. Was it a stage? Oh, basically standing up in front of a crowd and talking. That is something I would never have done at his age. I would have just hid doing that at his age. But yeah, overall, GSCon was a disaster, and the whole thing was a scam. Do not go to GSCon. Seriously. Save your money for bigger and better conventions. The place was empty. We only went for the Saturday, but it was a full weekend. On the Saturday, there was roughly maybe about 50 people there. There was like no one there, and according to the people that did the Sunday as well, there was even less, maybe like 20 people there. It was just a disaster. Staff, the staff at this con haven't been paid. The cosplay competition winners haven't been paid, and we're now coming up to October, so obviously August through to October. They should have been paid by now, but they haven't. The organizer, this isn't something I personally saw, this was something my friends saw, but the organizer was getting a little handsy with his barely legal girlfriend in front of other attendees. Once again, like I said, I didn't witness that, but my friends did. The organizer, he was also getting a little handsy with some of the cosplayers. He didn't understand that the cosplay does not equal consent. He was basically just going up and grabbing people, hugging them. He had one of my friends in pretty much a stranglehold that I didn't notice, but I caught it in the background of my vlog. I didn't notice it until one of my other friends pointed it out. The consoles that they had set up, there was one Wii and 3 Xboxes, 3 Xbox Ones. One of the Xboxes was stuck on factory reset, so that one was obviously not working. The Wii didn't have any games. The 2 Xboxes did, but they had games where you needed internet, and there was no Wi-Fi, or if it was shit Wi-Fi, so pretty much all of the consoles were null and void. And obviously for a gaming convention, because GSCon stands for Gamer Streamer Con, for a gaming convention, having some consoles where people can sit down and play it's an important part of a gaming convention, and that didn't work. It just didn't work. There was also no security, or no event trained security. It happened. The con took place in a university building, so there was the university security, but they didn't have any training on how to do cosplay events. So basically, security was non-existent. The few dealers that were there, they were basically abandoning their stalls to go wander. There was so few people there that they didn't have to risk about any of their stock getting stolen. So it was like the one con where they were safe to just up and walk away from their stalls. The front desk, where you go and have your ticket scanned and get your wristband, the front desk was completely abandoned at one point. So anyone and everyone could walk in, not that you'd want to, but anyone could walk in and cause God knows what sort of disruptions to the event. I did at one point see a family walk in. It looked like a dad and 2 kids. They went up to the desk with the phone out, so I'm guessing they had bought their tickets in advance. But there was no one there, so they just sort of walked in, wandered round a bit, and then 10 minutes later they left because there was fuck all there. But obviously there could have been someone with ill intentions that was just let to wander in. Let's see, front desk was empty. Done the dealers. Oh, Guests were also walking out halfway through the event due to lack of attendees. There was just nothing there keeping the guests there, so he upped and left. The cosplay competition, that was a weird one. It was cancelled, but they still chose winners. So a cancelled competition that still had entrants and winners and losers. It was cancelled because not enough people entered it, which, fair enough. But the organiser had bought all the trophies and he was just like, it was basically, I can't be arsed taking all of these home. I've spent like £5 per trophy here. I can't be asked carrying them home. So he just gave them out to random people. Obviously, in cosplay. So that didn't really feel like the people that won and got the trophies, because they were just picked at random, it didn't really feel like they actually won anything. It was also judged by the organizer pretty much, and the organizer was not a cosplayer, didn't have any experience with cosplay. I mean, his girlfriend's a cosplayer, but he probably doesn't know anything about it. So he didn't really know what to look for and stuff when it came to judging cosplays. So I feel like the cosplay competition was unfairly judged as well. Also, like, disabled people were basically just pushed to the side. Like, the disabled entrance, it was one of those, like, automatic doors, but you have to press the button to get in, and then it opens and you can wheel your wheelchair through. The button didn't work, so my friend had to go in through the revolving doors and then go around the other side of the disabled door and push it open, because it was like a one-way door. There was no sort of staff there to allow disabled people in. The after party on the Saturday was held at a club that was down some stairs, so like an underground club. There was no lift to get down, and one person that went to the after party was in a wheelchair. And because they couldn't then get down the stairs, no one was there to help them sort of carry the wheelchair down the stairs. They were basically told, get up off your wheelchair and walk down these stairs, or sucks to be you, fuck off, have a good night. This was supposed to be a convention about mental health, like supporting mental health, but they had the Mind charity there, which Mind is a mental health charity. But everything that was there, if you did go to this convention and you did have mental health issues, this convention would have just made them worse. Depression, your cosplay wasn't good enough. Anxiety, nothing was good enough. And people just randomly and the organizer just randomly touching your cosplay. It was just not a good con. I'm not going back there, and I know for a fact that Ash and Morgan, my friends that I went with, are not going back either. Ash and Morgan have done their own videos purely on GSCon, so what I'll do is I will link both of their videos down in the description so you can check them out and get some more information. So, enough about GSCon. Let's go to the next convention, which was RakuCon. So this was also in Manchester, and also in August. And this was a much better convention. So the cosplay I did there was Psycho-Pass, but I also took my fursuit of Kamui, who is named after a character from Psycho-Pass, so I thought they would have gone well together. I went with Morgan and Thomas to this one, so once again the squad had been split up. Because I think Ash had gone on holiday again. And then my best memory from RakuCon was I did my first panel. I was shitting myself, but I think it went really well. So RakuCon, it was like HorrorCon, so it wasn't a generic con, it was a specific themed one, and RakuCon was purely an anime convention. And this was my first purely anime convention. Anime is always there at like the generic Comic Cons, like, you know, the Unleashed events and your MCMs and stuff. Anime is always there, but it's not. It's just blended in. Whereas this RakaCon was a purely anime convention, and it was amazing. It was their second year of doing it, so like their second year running, and it was way better. For GSCon, it was their third year of running, so you'd think a third year con would be a little bit better, more organised than the second year con. But no, RakaCon was miles ahead. It also had way more attendees. Even though it felt like it was a smaller venue, it had way more attendees, and it was amazing. And I honestly can't wait to see where this con goes in the future as it gets more popular and gets bigger. As I said, for my memory, I did my first panel at this con. I did it with Morgan and 2 other cosplayers. Can't remember who. But it was really good. It was Morgan's idea, so it was initially Morgan's. It was Morgan's panel, and then we were sort of just the 3 other cosplayers. Were sort of just invited along to do the panel with him. Thank you for inviting me. It was so much fun. I felt like it did really well, and I was proud of myself. I think it went very well. Yep, I would be happy doing another panel next year. I think Morgan's actually wanting to do a panel at next year's RakaCon, but have it as the full squad. So hopefully Ash will be there as well. And I'm looking forward to going back next year. The final con of the year was Doki Doki, the Japanese festival. Once again in Manchester, except this time it was in September. It was like the beginning of September, I think. Yeah, it was like the beginning of September. The cosplay I did for that was Tatsu from Way of the House Husband. It was the full squad, so me, Ash, Morgan, and Thomas. And my best memory from that was placing 3rd in the cosplay competition, masquerade, whatever you want to call it. So, while this was my first time attending Doki Doki, it's also going to be my final time because it was the final Doki Doki event ever. They're not doing any more conventions, which is, it's sad, but all good things unfortunately must come to an end at some point. I personally enjoyed the con, but we were in the middle of a heat wave, so everyone was dying, so I would have enjoyed it way more if we weren't in the heat wave and, we were all staying alive. The only downside to this con was the fact it was in the middle of a heat wave, and they didn't have any sort of fans set up. Even in just one side room, they could have just set up some big fans to be like a cool down room. There was like one water dispenser, like one water fountain. For the entire con, they could have got a few more in and scattered them around. That was one of the good things about RakaCon actually. RakaCon had a drinks fountain, like a water fountain dispenser, whatever you want to call it, in every room. In the 2 dealers' halls, there was pretty much water for everyone, so you definitely weren't going to die in your cosplay. Doki Doki had none of that. That was the only downside. Also, it was just very loud. They decided to put some drummers in the main hall, basically the hall that you would enter through. They put some drummers there, and it was way too loud. Me coming 3rd in the cosplay competition, I didn't think that was going to happen, but it's made me love my Tatsu cosplay more, and I definitely want to take him to more conventions next year, and just in the future in general. I do plan on bringing him back next year, I just don't know which convention to bring him to. RakuCon would have been a good one with it being an anime con, but I have already decided that as long as the weather's good, I'm going to be taking Neb with me. If the weather's shit, then maybe I'll make Tatsu my backup cosplay. Also for Doki Doki, I had my first maid cafe experience with the Mayan maids. That was fun. Would have been better if the drums weren't going off in the background so we could actually hear what they were saying to us. But I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And I kind of want to go to more maid cafes. I know there's another one in Manchester somewhere. I think it's in Afflex. Overall, good con. It was just a bad timing for the temperature to skyrocket. That's the only thing that ruined it, was the temperature. And that's it. That's all of the cons that I've gone through. For rating, I'll go worst to best. Worst is going to be GSCon. And then I think after that, probably Leeds. So Leeds Super Comic Con. GSCon, Leeds Super Comic Con. Probably say Huddersfield Comic Con. And then Huddersfield Get Your Geek On. And then Doki Doki. No, I'm going to put Doki. So I'm going to do GSCon, Leeds Super Comic Con, Huddersfield Comic Con, Doki Doki, Huddersfield Get Your Geek On, HorrorCon, and then RakuCon being my favourite convention of the year. Purely because of the water. So they actually had something in place to help keep cosplayers cool. And thinking of the cosplayers is something not a lot of events actually do. Like, they might have cosplay repair stations, but in terms of actual things for the cosplayers' health and safety, not many events actually do that. So kudos to RakuCon for actually providing water. Throughout the year, mainly at the beginning of the year, there have also been various cosmeets held, mainly by Ash and our undesirable ex-friend. So it's mainly now Ash that does the cosplay meets. They're mainly done between, or like just outside of the main con season, so I haven't done any meets during the summer. It's mainly just like in the winter, like the colder months, when there's little to no conventions, just to sort of help us keep our love of cosplay alive. And they're also good times to sort of debut new cosplayers and sort of give them a test run before we take them to like the major events. So yeah, overall 2023's con season has been amazing, and I cannot wait for the 2024 con year. I'm not entirely sure what cons we're going to be doing overall, but we do have a couple of them planned out. I think the first convention we're going to be going to is going to be Insomnia Gaming Festival in Birmingham. I think we're going to try and do a couple of days for that, so it's actually going to be my first con in a long time where we actually stop over in a hotel and do multiple days. The last time I did that was YCC 2019. I did the full weekend there. For Insomnia, we're not going to do the full weekend because I think it's like a Friday through to Sunday. So I think we're going to do like the Friday and Saturday and then come home on the Sunday. We're also going to hopefully do MegaCon in Manchester. MegaCon in the UK is MCM's replacement. Because basically MCM, which is the biggest con in the UK, was taken over by an American company. They now only run the London and Birmingham conventions. Everywhere else north of that was cancelled. So MegaCon took over. MegaCon is run by one of the previous MCM organisers. So it's going to be the same sort of thing as MCM, and I can't wait to do that. We're hopefully going to be doing the full weekend of that as well. And obviously we're going to be revisiting some of the cons that we did this year. We're probably going to do RakuCon again. We're going to try and do RakuCon again. We'll probably do Huddersfield Get Your Geek On and Huddersfield Comic Con. Obviously GSCon is out of the question. A Leeds Super Comic Con is out of the question. Doki Doki is out of the question, but not for bad reasons. So yeah, so maybe like the 2 Huddersfield cons and RakuCon are going to be the... Oh, and HorrorCon. HorrorCon, we're going to try and do that one again as well. So yeah, I can get rid of that now. So yeah, that is my sum up of the 2023 con season. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's nothing too exciting. It was just me babbling to a camera for 35 minutes, I think that says. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I shall see you all in the next video, whatever that'll be. Bye. I can't find the thing.